businesses, I was in the electrical engineering space, but that's a while back. So I think what might be more relevant and more interesting in the context of today is the businesses around the internet and the new media, as you call it. So that journey started in 97, 98 when the internet had just come into India, and we got going as a new venture. At that time, in a business which was about providing awareness and information to people about the internet. So what we did was to create seminars as a product. So we were conducting seminars about the internet all over India and educating professionals, corporates, business people about how the internet is useful to them, what it can do for them. And it was a huge need of the times because the internet had come in, everybody was aware, but they didn't know how to use what they could do. So it was a very popular product which we kind of ended up creating. And we, over about 2-3 years which we did that, we still had this close to 200 seminars which we did. That got us started in the internet business. From then on we kind of got into a bit of website building business, in which graduated into creating our first portal, which was called homeindia.com. And homeindia.com again started interestingly with some NRI focused services, some of which were extremely popular, one of which got us some great mileage and awards and everything. But ultimately it migrated into a business which was in the e-retail space. So we were doing what you would today call as e-commerce or online selling. We were doing that way back in 98, where we were selling ethnic Indian products to customers outside India. So there was a huge demand for Indian products, whether it was clothing, jewelry, handicrafts, all sorts of things, initially amongst NRIs in the US and wherever they were, and subsequently even amongst foreigners and Westerners who had got a fascination for Indian things, the silks and the embroideries and all that. So we ended up creating a really good store which would source products from India and ship them anywhere in the world through an online, store, pure B2C, delivering one piece at a time. So we had this business from 98 to 2007 through the ups and downs of the dot-com world, which was there at the time. Managed to stay afloat and managed to drive the business into profitability. And then finally in 2007, we divested our stake out of that business. After that, I spent a year and a half in Delhi with the internet-related business called Compare Infoways Limited, and then came back to Mumbai in 2009 to start the current venture, which is called Social Wavelength. So Social Wavelength is positioned in the area of social media, as you're aware. So we are a services company. We help large companies, large brands to figure out this maze of social media from strategy onwards. So we help them create a social media strategy for their business, and then we actually help them execute the strategy. So we are there from strategy to execution completely, and basically we help brands derive benefits of this exciting new space, which is social media. We are platform agnostic, so we work on Facebook or Google Plus or Twitter or LinkedIn or blogs or YouTube, wherever there is a relevance for the particular brand. And we are also in social media, we are full service. So we, like I said, from strategy to creative to application development to media buying, or even what is known as social media monitoring, or basically listening into the social media buzz from an online reputation management point of view, or things of that kind. So we do the whole thing, whole 360 degrees of social media activations. And this is enabled, of course, through a great team which we have here. We have perhaps the largest social media company, at least on the team size. We have about 140 people right now and growing. And we service more than 60 brands in India. And again, that's also a growing number. We work with some of the best top brands in India. And people out here, they do different kinds of work. So we have creative, we have strategy, we have planning team. We do actually write on behalf of the brands, we have people who engage, we have people who listen into the buzz, we have analysts who interpret the conversation which we get. So that's what the team out here is about. definition of social media is up for grabs. I mean, people define it differently the way they perceive it. The way we kind of define social media is this way, that social media is all the online technologies that people use to share opinions, perspectives, insights, experiences. So as you would hear from this definition, first of all, it's online technology. So we are not, social media is not about few of us getting together at a cafe coffee day and sipping coffee and talking. That is social, but from the context of this social media, I wouldn't call it social media. On the other hand, it's not just social networks like Facebook, because the way we define it, as I said again, all those places where people share opinions, experiences, perspectives. So what all does that constitute? It constitutes, for example, things like blogs. Because blog is what the user writes, other users can read, they can comment, and interaction happens. Blogs is usually associated with text, but like blogs, you also have, let us say, podcasts or videos which are shared. And again, the concept is the same, that somebody creates the content, others read it, listen to it, view it, and interact. So that's a space where people are interacting with each other, sharing experiences, opinions, etc. That's one category of social media, blogs, podcasts, videos. The second category I would say is, let us say, things like review sites. There are review sites today for just about anything. So you might find, like, we are all familiar with film reviews, but besides film reviews, there are reviews of mobile phones and automobiles and restaurants and resorts and holidays and whatever. Why are they social media? Because these are what people are reviewing and others are seeing or reading that, and based on which they are making decisions whether to opt for product A or product B or product C. So this is where people are sharing opinions and helping each other to make informed decisions about their purchases. So reviews are again definitely a part of social media. Then you have things like discussion forums, groups. Again, it's similar to a blog, except there's a community participating. So many people are opening up conversation, others are communicating, interacting, all that. Then there are spaces like wikis. Wikis are again places where people share, people gather together to manage knowledge. So like a Wikipedia is like an encyclopedia of everything, but there could be a wiki for many other things. And that wiki again is a community-driven knowledge management platform. Okay. In terms of the structure, I guess most of the categories of social media come into it. So now when you think of streaming, or you think of anything as like a curation, like a Pinterest or a location platform like Foursquare, all of them in some way or the other fall into a larger umbrella, which is the online technologies that enable people to share opinions, experiences, insights, perspectives. So rather than looking at whether this is a definition in this platform, Foursquare is social media or not, I think if you look at it in this umbrella definition, then you will know that maybe a pure website is not, but a discussion group is. As people, as individuals, all of us are ending up spending a lot of time on these spaces. We perhaps are spending lesser time on some of the traditional media, definitely much less time on newspapers, on magazines, perhaps even not so much time on television anymore, as much as we are doing online. And the online, while initially it was about reading content of their properties, now increasingly the online time is on social platforms, whether it's a social network like Facebook or a video sharing site like YouTube, or an interactive platform like Twitter, or a professional network like LinkedIn. All of us as individuals are spending a lot of time here. Now if we are spending a lot of time here, and we are spending this time at the cost of not spending that time on reading newspapers or magazines or some of the other things which we used to do earlier, if there is a brand, if there is a company out there which wants to reach us as a consumer, there is no other way but to find their way through the social media spaces to reach us. So which is where it is becoming increasingly relevant for any company or any brand to find their presence here and to find it in an interesting and creative way so that they can be engaging. They don't want to look spammy, they don't want to look like they're pushing an advertising message in this space. So there is a relevance and there is a way to do it which has to be of a certain strategic way. Earlier, there was what you call a finite set of media. So if a brand or anybody wanted to so to say monitor media or manage media, what they needed to do was to monitor certain journalists or certain newspapers, a certain number of television stations. So it was a finite number, even if it was 100 or 200 or whatever, it was a finite number. Now we have changed to a point where all of us are media. Anybody who tweets is media. Anybody who makes a Facebook post is media. Because our opinion suddenly gets visibility to a large audience. I may have 200, 300 followers or fans or whatever, but at least those people get a sudden view of what I'm trying to say. So if I have had a bad experience somewhere, knowing I went into a restaurant and I got a piece of stone in my eyes, earlier what I would argue with the manager, try to ask for a refund or this or whatever, and complain. And I walk away feeling bad. Today, I'm not restricted to just doing that. Today, when I say any consumer can walk out and tweet that this restaurant sucks. You can post a photograph of that piece of stone in your eyes. And what happens to that restaurant? What happens to that brand? It suddenly goes like that, goes down because bad news travels faster. So people keep sharing. So the point is, this is the new reality. Whether we like it or not, whether the business likes it or not, this is the new reality. Yeah, there will be some negatives about this. They say people are becoming whiners and cribbers. Fair. I mean, the medium allows, it's going to happen. So there will be some downside. Earlier, a consumer's voice was just not heard. So there would be brands or businesses who would steamroll their consumers down, and consumer didn't have a voice to say anything. Now it's coming back of a consumer, so the power shift has happened, and maybe it has some challenges for brands to manage. We have to deal with it. All these years when they trampled over consumers, didn't care about them, didn't care about consumer service, they had a good time. Now they would be with the other extreme, which is the reality. What I can talk about is what is obviously visible. So, as Facebook says that their strategy is to make life better for the collected individual, giving more and more and more of what they need. So, this is the part where they keep expanding in various ways, whether from an acquisition side, on the feature addition, or whatever. So when you think strategy, we think two things. One is a strategy for creating more value to your users, to the people who make you what you are. So Facebook is what it is because of the 800 odd million or whatever 900 million of people who are registered users and using it. Same way Google is whatever it is for the users. So then there's a second part of the strategy, which is that, okay, after doing that, how do I make money? How do I make a lot of money? Right? So there are two kinds of strategy. One is to engage the users, and the other is to get from a revenue point of view. So first I'm talking about the user strategy. The user strategy for Facebook very clearly is the claim strategy is to make life for a collected individual better in terms of variety of features and addition, and which is key, which is really interesting approach. Because if I cut back a few years back to, let us say, Amazon came around, Amazon.com, and it took a while for it to really catch traction. There was a long number of years where it was not making money, it was not making even. Luckily, Jeff Bezos had the complete conviction, and so also his investors. So he stuck there. But he stuck there with one clear obsession. One obsession was that how do I understand the buying customer, the online shopper well and better? How does that understanding translate to making, giving them a better shopping experience? Everything that he did was about that, and they're wrong. And because of which, shopping on Amazon is such a pleasurable experience that more and more people keep going there, and more people shop, and more people spend a lot of money. And we just brought him to where he is today, which is like the number one shopping platform. Similarly, so if Facebook has that obsession that come what may, I want to make life for the connected individual better. And that's great place to be. So that's what is their user strategy. On the other hand, Google, of course, the challenge with Google is that it comes extremely large from the search background. Facebook started from a clean slate. There was no search or nothing else, or just developed in a particular space, and that was the focus that became big there. Google, of course, the bread, butter, cake, everything comes from search. So search is their big game. So from search, it is getting into other things. And while they may think that tomorrow search may still give them money, but this social which will be the big play. But there is a huge search slot in everybody's mind as far as Google is concerned. And even when we see Google evolve into different things which it does, there's a large search element which is there inside. So that's where the challenge comes. In fact, again, if I were to try to talk about the different eras in the let's say technology world. So IBM dominated at some point, and then came Microsoft, and Microsoft dominated the desktop world. And then came the internet world, which initially Microsoft, Netscape, and other companies came about. But then Microsoft was able to bring in Internet Explorer and other things and dominate the desktop age also with their browser and Netscape and fizzled out, relatively speaking. So that was the second era. So Microsoft was a company that actually rode leadership across two eras, the simple desktop era and then the first phase of the internet era. Now we're in the social era, where, after that came the search era, where Microsoft was not able to assert its leadership in spite of a whole bunch of search products, and Google came in. Now we're in the social era, where currently Facebook is the leader, and the leader of the previous era, so the search era, is trying to become relevant and also establish or re-establish leadership in another age. It's usually very challenging. It's usually very challenging for any company, and IBM could not come and dominate the desktop. Microsoft was a rare exception where from desktop it did manage to get a good foothold of the internet age. When it came ahead of Netscape and other browsers and dominated the desktop even in the age, it was a rare exception. It couldn't keep pace in the search space. Google came ahead. Google is struggling to get its act together in the social because you're slotted into the search. Having said that, it has of course a lot going for it in the sense of a phenomenal technology team that is able to come up with great products and obviously the reach that the search has, the reach that Gmail has, the reach that YouTube has, which are great with the products. But I still see for myself kind of struggle for them to find their bearings to become a key relevant player in social as they experimented a lot with Google Buzz and G Plus and all that. All was there. So not able to get like the final great branded product this is it, and we will make this big in a relevant way. So that's been a struggle. But who knows? I mean, the game is certainly not played out. It's still work in progress. So the years ahead, we still see an interesting pitch between Google and Facebook. It's exciting times. The consumer is less violent in a sense. If you might say that he's able to jump to another brand very quickly, which is in fact exactly the place where a brand needs to invest in creating a long-term relationship with the consumer. So, I mean the what you call iconic brands like the Harley Davidson, the Red Bull, Ford have not happened because they did one good advertising campaign, whether in the old time or currently. They have created a culture, they have created a connect to the audience because of what they are and whatever it is that they keep connecting with the consumer. So there is a passion about it, there is a connect about it, and people stay true to their brand. The loyalty is really big. Now, while in the offline world, it takes a lot of effort for the Harley Davidson kind of passion or cult to create that, and hence you see very few of them. online and specifically social media gives brands more of an opportunity. And especially, let us say, something like a Facebook page has that option to be, the way to go about it is that you identify your consumer, your target audience, and what is it that drives them, what are their passions, what is it that their pet topics are, what is it that interests them. And on your, say, your Facebook page or on your social media space in general, you focus on those things to give that value to your consumer and constantly give them, interact with them, listen to them, give it, respond back to them. I mean, Starbucks in that sense has delivered not just offline but on social media with that kind of an approach. When you have a My Starbucks idea.com, it is where it says that you know what, we are here because of our consumers, and our consumers can come and tell us what they want Starbucks to do tomorrow. And that's what happened on My Starbucks idea, where people come with suggestions, other people vote for them, the best ones work, and Starbucks then says, okay, if all of you guys think that we should use an eco-friendly tissue in our stores, so be it, we'll do it. You'll start seeing it in next month or next quarter or whatever. Now, here's where the connect is established. When I, as a consumer, walk into Starbucks a month later or 2 months later and see a different tissue, I say, this is what I voted for, and they are doing it for me. This is a great brand. I mean, I love it. It's like that. So, that's the opportunity that today's social media gives to any brand. Except that most brands seem to think short term. They get impatient. They take a strategy after a month, 2 months, if it seems to not generate enough numbers, they say, oh God, let me do something else. So if you don't have a conviction of your own on certain subjects and you keep changing, there is no way that so you are being that short-term thought, not a consumer. Consumer is shifting, but you yourself are shifting where you want to be with the consumer and going from here to there and there to here, which is what is calling more diamond program. You decide, this is what I want to be, this is what I will be, this is what I will constantly keep doing. It takes 6 months, it takes 1 year, 2 years, but then, in spite of all that attention span challenges which you talk about, the consumer who connects with that message stays true and the brand can get its desired objective. As a brand or as a company, people will need to be increasingly thinking themselves as publishers. Okay. There was a time, maybe 2 years back, when let's say an average company, an average let's say machinery manufacturer would have 20 pages of content that they created a whole year, which might have been a couple of brochures or something like that. And that's all the content that they had to create, so they could outsource to somebody else. That's it. Today, an average company would be easily creating 10,000 pages of content a year. And the bigger ones could be producing millions of pages of content a year. Simply because you have your blogs and your YouTube and your Facebook and your instruction manuals and discussion groups, and people are participating, you are participating, experts are participating, and an HR angle to it, and an investor relations angle to it, this whole bunch of stuff. Where as a brand, as a company, you are producing content. As soon as you are producing content, you have to think like a content producer. So today, if there is a content producer like the Times of India, they realize that as a content producer, it's not enough just to publish a newspaper. So you have at Times channel, because there are people viewing content on television. There is India Times, and there are a whole bunch of e-commerce web portals. But that's not enough. So they come to you on SMS, as SMS alerts of news. They come to you on an iPad, an iPad version of the newspaper, an iPhone version of the newspaper, and so on. Publisher, things like that. As soon as a brand or a company recognizes that in today's world, they are no less than a publisher. So if I am producing content, I need to be readable across a variety of formats. So I need to convert my content or make my content readable or visible across these various formats. That's the only way that my readers are going to access that content I'm creating. So this shift has to happen. I'm sure the way to happen is that a whole bunch of service providers will emerge who will say, okay, give me your text pages and I'll make them mobile friendly or whatever. It will happen. That's a shift, but that's a change is happening.